Yeah, so today we are going to discuss about reference qualifier. Write it down, reference qualifier. Write it down. Reference qualifier restricts the data that can be selected, that can be selected for a reference field. That can be selected for a reference field. Full stop. I'll repeat again. Reference qualifier restricts the data that can be selected for a reference field. Full stop. Next line. If we need to get or restrict if we need to get or restrict only particular data from table, only particular data from table, then we use reference qualifier, or else you can write like this. Then we set reference qualifier condition. Then we set reference qualifier condition. Full stop. I'll repeat again. If we need to get or restrict only particular data from table, then we set reference qualifier condition. Full stop. Full stop. Next, write it down. Types of reference qualifiers. Types of reference qualifier. Simple, advanced, dynamic. Write it down. First one, simple. Second one, advanced. Third one, dynamic. Types of reference qualifiers are three types, these three. Okay. Now, let's discuss about like a reference qualifier. So what is reference field? What we learned yesterday?
We can get the data from another table.
Yeah, of course.
And we can identify the field which has magnifying glass symbol.
Correct. That's great. So to go ahead with like a reference qualifier, so in the left navigation menu, you can go ahead with like an any table. As of now, let me go with like an incident. Okay. So navigating to like in tables and then the applications and modules is like in clear for you, right? Every time we are going ahead with like an all, clicking over here and typing a concept name. That's it. For doing an examples, so I'm just using like an incident table. So that's how which I make it as a favorites and I'm opening it. If not, you can type it over here as an incidents and scroll down and you'll get it. Okay. So let me open the list of incidents. So this is a list of incidents. Okay, you can open any record. So I have opened like the second record which is there. Okay, this is close the record. Let me go with in progress one. Okay, so see, let's say example. So I there is a requirement. One second, guys. Yeah. So here, see, there is a requirement. Let's say example. Client is asking you that. So there is a reference field with number of records which is available in the list. Okay, let's say example. Let me show you CMDBCI configuration item. Okay, so here I do have like a number of records. Let's say 275. Sometimes it might be like, and more than 1,000, 2,000, 4,000, 5,000 also records will be there. Okay, so for like in caller thing only that is like in 143. Okay, so if I go with like in some other stuff, so assigned to, so here I might have like in some other things like here I have 50. Okay, so let's say example the requirement is something, so whenever I click on the specific reference field, I just need to get only the limited data, limited number of records which is applicable for only for my project. Let's say here I have 40 departments. Okay, so in these 40 departments I just need to display only 10 to 15 departments. That 10 15 groups, sorry, this is groups, right? So here we have like in 10 to 15 groups only I just need to display whenever I click on reference field. So rest of the things which I just need to hide it. Okay, so that kind of things which we can do by using reference qualifier. So we are going to restrict the data which we are going to select for a specific reference field. Okay, so whenever we need to get a specific data or whenever we need to restrict only particular data from a table, whenever we click on that search icon of any reference field in a table, okay, so then we can set a reference qualifier condition. So based on that condition, our reference qualifier will work and all the details will not be shown over there. Okay, so let me show you that. So you got a clarity, right? Let me, after doing that, let's say example here I have like in 40 groups, right? So after applying the condition over there, I will get only few groups will be displayed over here based on my condition. So that's how about like a reference qualifier. So reference qualifier is something we are going to restrict the data or else which we are going to get only or else which we are going to display only the data which is available for us, which is necessary for us. Okay, the rest of the data which we are not going to use it, which we can hide it. Let's say example, there is a service offering. So here I'll get like a lot of service offerings as well sometimes. Or else let's say example, some other stuff like service. Okay, so here I will have like a multiple 41. So here the services which we are providing here is only 3 to 4, let's say example. Okay, so the 3 to 4 services only I just need to display over here and rest of the thing I need to hide it because the rest I'm not gonna use it in my project. Okay, so that's kind of hiding the data or is displaying only specific data in the list which we can do by using reference qualifier. Okay, so how to do that? So the same thing, just right click on the color, any field that should be a reference field. Okay, click on configure dictionary. So in dictionary we have a reference qualifier actually. Okay, reference specification will get it. Okay, let that load. And here see there is a reference specification. Okay, if I click on this, so here see the caller is referring to like a user table as we know that. Okay, and the types we have a three types, right? One is simple, advanced, and dynamic. So if I click on this, okay, so I'll get it. See, simple, dynamic, and advanced. So three types of reference qualifiers are available. Let me go with one by one. So let me first one is like in simple. So simple is something which we are giving only the conditions by using this filter condition thing. Okay, so whenever I click on choose field, so I'll get all the fields of an incident table. Okay, so let's say example the caller, and sorry, here we'll get like in the user fields actually. Okay, so because we are going ahead with like an user table as a reference, right? So if the user ID, okay, so here we do have like in all the operations as well. So starts with, ends with, contains, and everything. So let me go with like it starts with A. Okay, so the condition which I applied over here is like an user ID starts with like an A, the condition is applied. I'll repeat again. Okay, so no need to get confused over here. It's like an easy only. Okay, so what I did now, I have right clicked on the caller field because that's one of a reference field. Okay, I scroll down and there is a reference specification one tab over here. Okay, so here the reference is like an user table which you are referring to, the caller field. Okay, so the type which we're using is like in simple. So the condition which we are using over here is like an user ID starts with A. Okay, and you can utilize one more condition as well, and or it's your wish. Okay, so you can type it out like in let's say department is development. Let's say anything is fine. Okay, now I'll get these two conditions, that user ID whose name starts with A, I'll get the list, and the department who belongs to development also I'll get the list. Okay, so after changing this, you have to save it or else you can update it. Okay, so now let's check it out whether this filter applied in a incident form or not. So refresh the page after doing that. Okay, now just click on this one. Now see, I have only 38 records. Okay, so whose name starts with like an A and whose department is like in development. Okay, so I get like in only those things. I can check that as well whether he belongs to department or not. Okay, so here I have selected this person. See, he belongs to development department. So the filter will apply only for those two. So whose user ID name starts with A, and then whose department belongs to, whoever belongs to development department will come in this list. So just simply which we applied the filter for the reference actually. Okay, so those filters only will come up. Other than that, so the rest of the things will be like in restricted or we hide that. Okay, so whatever the details which we just need to display over here, so those only will come up. So if I want to remove this, okay, so remove the filter over here and save it and refresh and you can check it out. Okay, so it's still loading to save. Okay, so let me check over here. So now everything will come up because no filters applied over there for the specific reference qualifier. See, now I have 143. Before it was like in very less. Okay, so that's how which we will apply reference qualifier for specific reference field. This is a simple. Okay, so if I go with like in the advanced one. Okay, so here I'm going to add on like in the query. One second. Yeah, guys. So here we have a reference qualifier. Right. So here we are going to add the query of a filter. So where we are actually in a user table, right? So you can open the user table over here by opening a record. Okay, so you will get a table. Okay, or else you can directly navigate from left navigation table, left navigation menu. Okay, so from here you can open. So under system security, here we have users. So I have clicked on this and I'm opening the list of records. So here I can add a filter. Let's say example. Caller Caller is not a field over here actually. So just go with like an user ID or first name or last name. So the name which is there. Okay. So you can go ahead with like an anything. Let's say example, I'm adding user ID starts with A, or name also starts with first name also starts with A. And I can add one more thing. As I showed you, department belongs to development, or else now some other stuff, IT. Okay, so click on run. So now the filter I just got like in 156. Okay, so 156, let me remove one thing because it's like into first name, I'm removing it as like in this, and I'm just clicking on run. Okay, so now see, okay, the same thing is like in applying. It's like in 154. Now before it was like in 162 something, right? So now this 1654. Okay, or else you can add on like an end condition as well over here. Let me go with like in some other stuff. Now add the department because I just need to show like in only less records just for like in better understanding purpose. Okay, the same thing which I'll go with like an IT. Click on add. So now see, I just have only 5 records over here. Right. So now what do you guys do? Just right click over here. So here, see, I can open this in a new window. I can copy this URL, and the last thing is like a copy query. Just click on this copy query, and the query is copied to clipboard. Now go to your reference qualifier, and you have selected already the advanced, right? Just add this one. So now see, the query is username starts with A and department is IT. So the sys of the specific IT department. Okay, so now save it. So before it was showing like in multiple records, right? Let me refresh. Now it will show only these 5 records because which we applied. This is not coming up. Here they might be like in the IT department people might not be there with the same user ID over here in the incident table. Okay, so I hope development might be there. Let me copy this. With that specific field, there is no records actually. That's what it's not coming up. Let me go ahead with like an advance now. And add this instead of IT, just go with the department as development. And save it. So for development, they might be like in any of a user. So you got it right. The condition, whatever which I applied over here, user ID starts with A and department belongs to IT before. So there is no callers who rise the incidents. That's what it's showing as like in 0 records. Okay. So now if I go back, see now it's like in 3 records out there who's having a whose condition is like in satisfying this one. Okay, so that's how it will be applied. So whenever we apply like in any condition over here for the caller, not only the caller, for the all the reference fields, it will be applied over here as well in an instant table. Okay, so if we have the same records, let's say example here I have almost 8 records, right? So these 5 people, so admin, Alva, and all these are like in callers in incident table. So the rest of the things, the rest of 5 records, they didn't rise on incident. That's what the caller is like in showing only 3 records. If these guys also rise on incident, then that also will come up and displayed in a list. Okay, so as of now, only these 3 people rise on incident. Okay, and then who's having a username starts with K, and then department is like in development. Okay, so that's how which we use a advanced thing. So how are we going to copy the query? Just go with like in the filters and then end of a breadcrumb. or the end of the condition over here, just click on copy query. If you want to copy over here only, just copy here until here it will get it. If you have like in few more stuff as well. Okay, so let's say example, I just need to go ahead with like in this filter. Okay, so then copy and paste it wherever you need. Okay, and let's say example, I just need to copy only this filter or else only until this one. So I can copy until here only and this will be eliminated as a query. Okay, so wherever you are clicking on like in the condition and that will come up until that. Okay, if you want to remove the filter, the before one, just click on that one. If you want to remove the department as like in development also you can remove, and only the name starts with user ID starts with A will come up. Okay, so that's how about like in advanced reference qualifier. And the third thing is like in dynamic. Let me close and save it. Dynamic, I haven't used it so far, but I'll tell you how we are going to use this. Okay, so just click on like in the simple and there is a dynamic. So this is a reference qualifier, sorry, this is reference field where we are navigating to sys filter option dynamic table. Okay, dynamic filter options. So this is a PA contributors which is already there. Okay, so let me open this one. We can write a script over here based on a conditions. Okay, so this is a script which we are calling from a script include new, and this is a script include name, and this is a function name which we used it. Okay, and the team field type is like a reference and we are referring to a user table and which is applied for a reference qualifier. Okay, so if I open this script include, so there will be like a few lines of script will be available based on that script conditions. Based on that, this dynamic filters will work. Okay, so whenever you go with like an after finishing a scripting part as well, then we'll go with this one. So how to open this one? Dynamic filter options. We have like an only one for reference qualifier, but we do have multiple as well by default. Okay, so dynamic filter options, just open this. Here you can get like a few more dynamic filters as well. Okay, so you can check on like in any of the stuff and you will understand how that works. So here see we are just utilizing those stuff and we are calling the scripts and we are setting up those stuff. So we can make it as like in based on rules as well. Okay, so reference table which we can set up and all the things will apply. So available for filters we can go ahead, available for default we can go ahead, available for reference qualifier also we can go ahead. Okay, so this we will understand whenever we are good with like in scripting. Okay, so which we are see here, there is like in scripting call this one and we are calling this function. Okay, so that's how which we can go ahead, but as of now I haven't used it in my projects as well, but we do have like an option the dynamic qualifiers, dynamic also which we have the third type. Okay, so this is a default one which is there. Okay, so let me go back and save it. So this is about like in reference qualifier. So let me refresh it, recall it again. Reference qualifier is something which we are going to hide the data which is not necessary, or else which we are going to display the data which is necessary. Okay, simply which I can say we are going to restrict the data which is not needed, or else which we are going to hide the data which is not needed now. Okay, or else which we are going to display the data which is necessary or else which is needed for our current project. Let's say example in group field, it's like an assignment group. So as of now in my project there is like an only 5 to 6 groups is available. Okay, rest of the groups which whatever the options available is no longer needed for current project. So what we can do, we can hide the specific groups over there which is not needed, and the rest which we can display whatever which they're asking. They will give the list of the groups as well, so based on a condition or else in the query which we can add the filter and that will work. Okay, and this is what about like in reference qualifier, depending on like in the condition which we set in a reference qualifier, we are going to restrict particular data or else which we are going to display specific data. Okay, we have a simple, advanced, and dynamic. Simple is something which we are giving a conditions directly in a filter conditions, and that will apply after saving. And that is next thing is like an advanced, which we copy the query and we add on, and that will apply. And then dynamic is something which we write script on these conditions and everything which we write in a script, and that script which we call it, and we are going to make it as available for reference qualifier, and this will be available over here. By default we have a PA contributors. Okay, as of now I didn't use that. Okay, so this is about like in simple, advanced, and dynamic. And here you might get like in one question over here. So I'm using this in a simple and advanced in incident table, but I'm utilizing a user table conditions over here, filters over here, because the caller field, whatever which we are referring is a user table only. So the condition also which we need to apply in user table but not in incident table. Okay, so whatever the conditions might be, let's say example I got here 10 records whenever I filtered it. Okay, so now these 10 user IDs or else these 10 users should create a incident records as well, so that only the caller we will get it, because it will be like in verifying again with like an incident table as well, right? If the person, let's say the 10 users is not there in the incident list, okay, then that will not work. In the same way I showed you before, here I do have like a 9 records I guess before, and whenever I click on this caller I got only 3, because only 3 users got created incident to resolve their issues. So that's how it's going on with like an only whose records is available in incident table with the same filter which we applied only will be displayed here. Okay, so that's about like in the reference qualifier. Now I'll go with your questions, guys. Any questions so far? All good?
It's clear.
Okay, great.
Priyanka, we
Yes.
show once a dynamic.
Yeah, dynamic is something which we are going to dynamically setting a filter by using scripts. Okay, so in dynamic is something which based on like in condition, there might be like in if conditions which we use, switch conditions which we use, we are calling one specific table from there. Okay, so from there which we are querying it by using glide record. So all the things which will be available, and that we wrote by a script, and that script will be called to like in dynamic filter options, and that we can utilize it. So dynamic is something depending on like in the values will vary. Dynamic is something the values will vary, right? According to like in the record, the values will vary. So here we are going to write a script, and here we are going to call that script, and that will apply for the conditions will apply over here. Okay, so that's how about like in dynamic. Clear?
Yeah. Hi, Priyanka. Vijay here.
Yes, Vijay.
Uh, my scenario, like when it comes to the real time,
Mm-mm,
so what exactly our requirement? Like, suppose
mm,
the Fred lady is a caller, right?
mm-mm.
So for that particular caller, there are multiple users, and the users who is raising a ticket, or what exactly we are seeing here. I mean, in general scenario, like where exactly we will use this.
Yeah. So I just gave like in one scenario over here, right? So that is assignment. Just leave about like in the color right now. So
Mhm.
there is a assignment group here. So if I click over here in my project, I just need to utilize, I'm going to use only 5 to 6 groups, but whereas I have in a list, I have a 40 groups. Okay, let's say example, I'm using hardware, ECAB approval, and help desk and instant management. It's only these four. Okay, the rest of the things I'm not gonna use in my project. I need to hide this, or else I need to restrict this data whenever I click on this search icon. Okay, whenever I click on like in that magnifying glass icon, I just need to get only those 4 group records only. Rest of the thing I need to restrict it. So in that scenario, which we can use. And this I have used in my project as well for one of my integration project. There is a assignment group instant table only which I was working before in that same project, and then there is only a three groups was available for them, and they're asking me to like in just only showcase only the three groups and rest of the thing just ignore it. It's like a restrict the data that should not be display in the list whenever I click on this one. Okay, so that's how it will come up. So not only for
Okay.
like an assignment group, it depends on their requirement. But anyhow, if we know about like in how can we do, we can go for any field.
Okay.
Okay.
As a admin, like we used to get that as per the requirement, like we will just modify all these
Yes.
configurations, right?
Right. Right.
So obviously we will using a lookup like by default, like obviously Fred lady, once if it is selected the Fred lady, the
Mm,
assignment group, we will give a default thing as using a lookup, right? So in that case, normally default, but probably they are having a multiple groups as well.
yeah.
In that way we can use it, right?
In that way, yes, we can, but it depends on requirement. So
Yeah, that's all.
depending on like an caller, we can go with like an assignment group as well. If it is like an requirement, but in general, we'll based on like in category and subcategory, we will auto populate the assignment group. But if the requirement demands, we can do that too. Okay,
By
and
default, yeah, by default, suppose if I select a Fred lady, obviously the category will be the software or
mm-hmm,
hardware.
mm-hmm.
Based on that, automatically the assignment group will be populate, right?
Yes, if
If you
the
are giving the
configuration is
stuff,
there,
yeah.
yes. If the configuration is was done in this manner, then that will come up for sure.
Okay. As a admin, we are giving the permissions to do this, right?
Yes, we are going to configure and customize these kind of things. Yes. And
Okay.
one more thing is this reference qualifier will work only for the reference fields, not for the rest.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as a admin, like suppose in the in our group, suppose
Mm-hmm.
we are having 5 or 6 people.
Mm-hmm.
So you are the admin and we are the juniors. Assume that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So in that situation, so you are giving a permissions to do that, right? Or who will be the in the team? Like how exactly who else we will use this?
It's about like in, it's not about like in junior and, the admin person. It's a, let's say example, client having, let's say, I'll give like in the project scenario only over here. So there is like an incident which is created from like a third party application. Okay, which we used in integration. So whenever incident is like in created from their end, so here also the instance will create. Okay, so in that way, so they are going to work with like in these instance, and there is a few groups available. Okay, so for them, there is like an only three groups are there which we created, and we added users as well over there, members as well in the group. Okay, so if I click on this one, they just need to display only that specific groups, not the rest.
The
Okay,
selected ones, selected
yeah,
groups.
selected groups only, only that specific three, and the rest should not be there because they are not using anyhow, and by mistake they should not select the incorrect group. Okay,
No.
so that's why which we use like a reference qualifier over there by using advanced. Okay, and then that applied. So here it's not about like in we are not giving permissions to specific persons or anything. We are just showcasing the data whatever they need, and we are restricting the data which is not necessary. It's for like in the client.
Okay, the client and the people who is developing the.
Yeah, those who are using it. We are developing here, and the support team will utilize this platform, right?
Yeah.
So for
Yeah.
them, we are modifying and we are giving them as per their requirement.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so that's how. So hope it is clear.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. Any further questions, guys? All clear?
Yes.
Okay, good to know that. And tomorrow we'll discuss like in the new concept tomorrow. Okay, so I'll upload this video within a few minutes. Just check it out and practice from your end as well. Okay, so if you have any questions, please let me know.
So Priyanka,
Yeah, yeah.
what we have discussed till then. So
Mm.
these are the parts of ITIL, right?
Admin part.
So ITL part is different.
IDIL is something, it's just like a guidelines which we follow actually. So this is administration part which we are covering right now.
Okay.
Okay, so ITL is something we'll tell you. We are going to follow all the ITL guidelines to implement it. So we are doing that so, and this is the administration part actually. Okay, do we class tomorrow? It's yeah, even Friday also we do have like in class actually, Monday to Friday. Okay, so we have class, and I just got a question in the chat box. Do we have class tomorrow? It's Friday. It's the asking. Yes, we have tomorrow. Do we guys need leave off or something?
No.